A warm welcome to our viewers here in Nigeria and to our international audience. Thank you so much for joining us on The World Today. I'm Anne Nwawado. Here's what's coming up. Russian President Vladimir Putin visits China for a two-day visit. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visits Kharkiv region, says the situation there is very difficult but under control. Plus, 71-year-old suspect charged with attempted murder of Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico. And that's The World Today. It starts right now. Once again, welcome. Let's get right into it. Russian President Vladimir Putin is in China for a two-day visit, making it his first international tour since his election victory. Speaking at a joint conference, host President Xi Jinping and the Russian leader praised their friendship and their deep ties. Mr. Putin also thanked President Xi for his efforts to resolve the Ukraine crisis.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is in China for a two-day visit. It's a cheerful moment as the Chinese President Xi Jinping welcomes his Russian counterpart to the country, as this is his first foreign trip since securing a fifth term. President Putin is officially honored with a parade welcome ceremony. It follows a performance of the Russian national anthem by the People's Liberation Army military band. They make their way to the Great Hall of the People in Beijing as they pose for a joint photograph. The leaders attended a joint press conference with host presidents saying China and Russia's partnership has been based on mutual respect and a confluence of interests.
This year marks the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between our countries, a milestone year in the history of Sino-Russo relations. Over the past 75 years, China and Russia have successfully embarked on a new path of cooperation between the world's great powers and neighboring countries in the spirit of mutual respect, harmonious coexistence, and mutually beneficial cooperation.
President Putin says his partnership with China is recognized internationally.
Our cooperation in world affairs today is one of the main stabilizing factors in the international arena. Together we defend the principles of justice and a democratic world order that reflects multipolar realities and is based on international law.
President Putin also thanks China for its negotiations and efforts to resolve the Ukraine crisis, adding both sides want a political settlement to the war. China and Russia also hailed the growing bilateral trade, signing a new series of agreements. Both leaders say they will work to build the foundation for a network of scientific cooperation and maintain the stability of the global industrial and supply chains. The Russian leader also made a stop at the Beijing Monument to People's Heroes to present flower baskets to fallen national soldiers.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has met with senior military officials in the city of Kharkiv as Russian forces push deeper into the northeastern region. The Ukrainian leader described the situation as extremely difficult for Kyiv's troops on the ground, but he says it is under control. Efforts to bolster Ukrainian forces were concentrated in Liptsy and Vovchansk, which is a town located about 60 kilometers northeast of Kharkiv city and the site of some of the most intense battles near the border. Ukrainian officials warned combat in the Kharkiv direction remains complicated and it is changing dynamically. And if the new enemy is trying to ensure conditions for further advancement in order to take advantageous positions. But Russian forces have taken control of more than 9 villages close to the border since they launched a surprise attack on May the 10th. The United Nations official says the situation in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv is devastating. At least 8,000 people have evacuated that region with no sufficient access to food, water and medical supplies. The Office for the High Commissioner for Human Rights has recorded more than 700 civilian catastrophes around and across the country.
As of today, authorities report that over 7,000 civilians were evacuated from border areas of the Kharkiv region, and they have had devastating consequences for civilians who remain in those areas, with many cut off from access to food, medical care, electricity, and gas. People in Donetsk and Sumy regions in the east and north of the country were also impacted by attacks in recent days, with homes and civilian infrastructure damaged. In total, the Office for the High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR, recorded more than 700 civilian casualties across Ukraine in April. Across Ukraine, we have also seen an intensified pattern of attacks on civilian infrastructure with far-reaching humanitarian consequences. Since March 22nd of this year, the UN and its partners have seen 5 waves of attacks directed against Ukraine's energy infrastructure. OHCHR recorded 50 such incidents in April alone. Kharkiv and Dnipro regions are particularly affected, with Ukraine's energy ministry reporting up to 250,000 residents experiencing rolling power outages in Kharkiv and ongoing restrictions in Dnipro since March. These attacks have destroyed or damaged power generation plants and electricity substations. The impact of these power cuts on the most vulnerable is stark, and we're alarmed by reports of attacks damaging energy infrastructure and oil refineries in the Russian Federation. Such attacks risk inflaming the war further and worsening its humanitarian impacts. I'm compelled once again to recall that under international humanitarian law, the parties must take constant care to spare all civilians, as well as civilian objects, including homes, schools, hospitals, and other essential infrastructure.
Let's turn our attention to wars in other regions. 5 Israeli soldiers have been killed in Gaza when they were mistakenly hit by an Israeli tank fire. The friendly fire, which went off on Wednesday in Jabalia, the northern area of Gaza, is one of the deadliest incidents of its kind since the war began in October. Israeli troops returned to the town this week after previously putting out, saying that Hamas had regrouped there. But thousands of civilians have fled Jabalia since Saturday, after Israel Defense Forces launched airstrikes on that town. Fighting there and in the southern town of Rafah have intensified in recent days. Residents of Israel's border city of Sderot have been reacting to Hamas's rocket attack that left a residential building damaged. The group fired 3 missiles into the city on Tuesday, 2 of which were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome air defense system. 1 rocket, which was not intercepted, hit an apartment block. The southern city is the largest one attacked by Hamas on October the 7th. Many residents have recently moved back following months of living in government-provided temporary housing.
The population, most of them are coming back, but they still have many trauma in their body, and many people here are also sick from the situation.
Israeli government doing whatever they can. The only problem is with the United States. my kids is under fire. I don't care what he is in the United States needs or his political issues. This is not my problem. My problem right now is to hide my children from the rockets.
I suggest for Mr. Biden, the big Biden, to come to change with me the house. I give him my house for 1 week. I take him his house for 1 week. And I will want to see how his grandchild, children, his wife, his family, even our dogs live.
Recently, there was a huge wave of the people that came back. It's because the government removed a lot of the main subsidies that were that allowed us to live outside the city. But it's also, I think, it's something about mentality, because it's difficult to live in a hotel for 3-5 months in a row. So it's like a wave, at first, like it's domino effect. When some people start to come in, a lot of people are coming after them. I lived in Sderot my whole life. I'm already used, unfortunately, I'm already used to this, for these cycles of violence that we have with them, exchanges of firefights, but October 7th was different. I think, and I hope that this is the last time we're gonna have something like this. I hope that we see it to the end. Rafah is the last Hamas outpost, and I know that America doesn't gives us signs that they want us to back down or anything, but I don't think that we will. I think it's the last chance we have. Rafah is about I believe maybe a month before we take it, and after that we'll try to see what we can do in the day after Hamas.
Israeli forces have arrested at least 12 Palestinians from the occupied West Bank overnight. The Palestinian Prisoners Society said that those detained included children and former prisoners. Arrests were conducted in the governorates of Ramallah, Hebron, Jenin, Nablus, Tubas, and Qalqilia. The Palestine Red Crescent Society also reported that more than 15,000 children have been killed in Gaza. Gaza's health ministry says that about 500 people have been killed across the West Bank since the October 7th attack. The International Criminal Court of Justice, ICJ, is holding hearings to discuss a petition by South Africa seeking additional emergency measures over Israel's offensive on Rafah. The two-day hearing is underway in The Hague. The demand by South Africa is part of a case it lodged against Israel, accusing it of violating the Genocide Convention in Gaza. But Israel denies these accusations. In January this year, the court issued its first emergency measures in the case, ordering Israel to ensure its troops commit no genocidal act against Palestinians in Gaza, allow in more humanitarian aid, and preserve any evidence of violations. A man suspected of the assassination attempt on Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico has been identified as Slovak writer Juraj Centula. He was being charged with the attempted murder of the Prime Minister. Report says that he could face up to life in prison. The 71-year-old detained at the scene of Slovak writer and activist known for promoting liberal values, human rights and social justice. According to doctors, Mr. Fico is in stable but serious condition after being shot several times. The hospital director says that he is in intensive care unit after 5 hours of surgery. The 59-year-old was shot on Wednesday at close range after attending a meeting in the town of Hadnlova. The shooting has been described as an attack on democracy as well as a politically motivated assassination attempt. The VOA's Russia's reporter Ricardo McQueen joins us now for more on this. Hello, Ricardo.
Hello.
There's been allegations of possible Russian involvement in this shooting. Have you heard any word from Russian authorities debunking this allegation?
So the information that points Russia come from local investigators that say that the shooter is in relationship with a group. I will read because it's Slovakian, it's a Slovakian language, a group called Sloviansky Branci. This group is a far-right racist organization that was in connection with the Night Wolves, another far-right Russian organizations that promotes the pro-Kremlin views in Central and Eastern Europe. This is information published by the local investigators there in Slovakia, and it's an information that is not official. It's information based in the Facebook publication and social site publication of the shooter. It's because there are not any kind of reaction by the Russian part. Nevertheless, the official information from the government is that the shooter was motivated exactly by the opposite ideology. He committed this crime because the government stopped the military help to Ukraine. So now we have a crossfire accusation between the people that say that the shooter is influenced by Russia and the people that tell us that the shooter was influenced by Ukraine. We only can wait for this information to be clarified.
But the Prime Minister was actually shot 5 times at close range. He was the only one injured in that incident, and the shooting has also been described as politically motivated assassination attempt. Do we know if the suspect acted alone in all of this?
The government spokesperson tells that the shooter, he was alone. No kind of organization behind him. Is a man that was a very politically active in the last 10 years, and he decided to act. If we believe the official information, he decided to act against the first minister after the last election. So if we attend this information from the government, the shooter is alone, have not any organization behind him, and decide to attack the first minister after the last elections.
Has this type of assassination attempt happened on any political leader in Slovakia in the past? I mean, is this a one-off taken by surprise?
It's a huge surprise because it's not only strange in Slovakia, it's strange in all Central and Eastern Europe. We only need to see how the first minister approached the people. He has some bodyguards, but no one was expecting someone with a gun. This is extremely strange in these countries to have access to this kind of short-range guns. Is very difficult, and it's not only in Slovakia, but in other countries as Hungary or Bulgaria. So it comes as a huge surprise. The political violence is not a common thing in Eastern and Central Europe, not at all.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for this update. Ricardo McQueen, VOA's Russian reporter. Thanks a lot, and we'll keep our eyes on that story. France has declared a state of emergency in its Pacific Islands territory of New Caledonia, and that's after 4 people were killed and hundreds others injured in riots. Police and military reinforcement also have been deployed in an attempt to end days of unrest over the French government's move to change the rules of provincial elections. More than 200 rioters have been arrested when violence erupted on Monday night. According to a statement by the Office of the High Commissioner, which represents the French state, 5 people have been placed under house arrest as alleged sponsors of the violent disturbances, and that more searches will take place in the coming hours. Authorities are saying that they are determined to quickly restore public order and take all necessary measures to protect the population of the New Caledonia region. Pakistan's jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan has made a virtual appearance before the Supreme Court. He appeared via a video link from prison in connection with a case regarding amendments of the country's anti-corruption law. This hearing is the first time Mr. Khan made an appearance before the top court. The session was being held behind closed doors without access to the media. He's been imprisoned since August 2023 in several cases relating to the leaking of state secrets and unlawful marriage. The Prime Minister was sentenced for 14 years in another case related to illegal sale of state gifts, but the sentence was overturned by Islamabad High Court in April this year. Thousands of people have been evacuated as massive out-of-control wildfires scorched large swaths of territories in Western Canada, with the country grappling with what could be another devastating fire season. But earlier this week, residents of the small town of Fort Nelson were forced from their homes as the blaze grew dramatically in only a few days and was moving towards the community. Meanwhile, in the neighboring province of Alberta, authorities gave people about 2 hours to leave due to an approaching wildfire. Canada saw its most intense fire season on record last year, with hundreds of wildfires burning in provinces and territories across the country, in a crisis experts have said was worsened by climate change. And shall we call this an independence gift to Nigeria? And I'm talking about Emirates announcing it will finally be resuming services to Nigeria from the 1st of October this year. After several anticipations, the airline will operate on a daily service between Lagos and Dubai, offering customers more choices and connectivity from Nigeria's largest city to and through Dubai. Well, Emirates Deputy President and Chief Commercial Officer Adnan Kazim says that they are excited about this resumption, lauding the Nigerian government for their partnership and their support. Our Dubai correspondent Mayowa Adegoke joins us now for more. Hello, Mayowa, and it's good to see you.
Definitely good to see you, Anne.
I know many Nigerians will be happy hearing this report. Boy, I am also sure the question on many lips is, does this mean a resumption of visa service between both countries?
You're absolutely right. There is excitement and there are questions as well. Does this mean that visas will now be granted? And if you look at the statement Emirates put out, they said connectivity to and through Dubai. So that means that they're expecting people to come into Dubai. The only logical conclusion is that visas will be granted. I have done some checks today to see if the visa portal is already open, but as of today, the visa portal is not open yet. So if you're trying to get a visa today, I'm not sure it will work today. We do expect that more news, more information will filter in the coming days. Definitely, we expect to see travel agencies get more information that may not be released generally, publicly to the media. But the assumption is, if you're expecting people to come into your country, you should definitely give them the documents to do that.
I can imagine. Nigerians will also be concerned how this affects other airlines from Nigeria on the same route.
It means competition. I've seen many comments, people saying that, how about air peace? So on the lips of many Nigerians is what happens with air peace. So people are expecting that air peace will get into the game as well. But overall, it just means more competition, more choices. As you know, prices will differ based on airline. People will ultimately go for what they can afford and what's good for them. But all in all, it's definitely a good development that there's a direct flight between Lagos and Dubai.
All right, Dubai, Mayowa, on this side, I know the reactions already from Nigerians, but what are the reactions from Nigerians in Dubai about this development?
Mostly positive, mostly great. People are excited. Hope is restored because now it means that, business can come again. It means that people can see their family again. For those who have not been able to see their family, a lot can happen. There is some skepticism. So people are saying, October is such a long time. Why doesn't it happen sooner? What if they change their mind? People don't want to be toyed with, in a sense. So yes, a lot of excitement, hope, while some people are still, just hesitant. It's like, you know what, until I see that plane drop here in Dubai, I'm not going to believe anything. But hopefully it does happen as announced.
All right, thank you very much, Dubai correspondent Mayowa Adegoke, and we hope that, this eases, especially for those in business also. Thanks a lot for your time on the World's Day. A retired 74-year-old Ghanaian man who's lived in the United Kingdom for nearly 50 years has been told he is not British. Well, he must wait a decade before the Home Office will let him stay permanently. Nelson Shardi from Wallasey in Wirral only discovered that he was not a citizen in 2019, and despite paying taxes all his adult life, he now faces paying thousands of pounds to stay and use the NHS. The retired news agent first came into the United Kingdom in 1977 to study accountancy on a student visa that also allowed him to work. But after a coup in his native Ghana, his family could no longer send him money for the fees. He then took on a series of jobs, making Mother's Pride bread and Kipling's cakes near Southampton and Bendix chocolate in Winchester. But he married a British woman and then moved to the area to run his own business called Nelson's News. When that marriage ended, he married another British woman. They had 2 sons, Jacob and Aaron. Mr. Shardi has performed jury service, and in 2007, he was given a police award for bravery after tackling a robber who was attacking a delivery man with a baseball bat. But in 2019, when he applied for a passport so he could go back to Ghana following the death of his mother, he was told he was not British and had no right to be in the United Kingdom. The resident of Humanitarian Coordinator for Sudan, Clementine Nkweta Salami, is concerned that the people in Sudan are trapped in an inferno of brutal violence, which is spiraling out of control. She was speaking to journalists at a press conference in New York. In her update, Ms. Nkweta Salami reported clashes in Darfur, which left dozens of civilians dead. The situation is not helped by horrific rights abuses and restrictions to humanitarian aid.
After more than a year of conflict, the people of Sudan are trapped in an inferno of brutal violence. Famine is closing in. Diseases are closing in. The fighting is closing in. And there's no end in sight. Clashes over the weekend reportedly caused dozens of civilian casualties. Many more were displaced, most seeking safety in the southern part of the city. If the parties do not pull back from the brink, this will have devastating consequences for the 800,000 civilians in Al-Fasher. Right now, the humanitarian assistance they rely on can't get through. More than a dozen trucks carrying health, nutrition, and other critical supplies for more than 120,000 people have been trying to reach the city for weeks. Khartoum, the beating heart of Sudan, has been decimated. No one and nothing has been spared. Horrific atrocities are being committed with reckless abandon. Reports of rape, torture, and ethnically motivated violence are streaming in. Indiscriminate attacks are killing civilians, including young children. Sudan is now today the world's largest displacement crisis. Almost 9 million people have been forced to flee to other parts of Sudan or neighboring countries.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has officially signed the contentious National Health Insurance Bill into law, despite the many objections it faces from Business Unity South Africa and political parties. The piece of legislation, which has been on the president's desk since June last year, paves the way for universal access to quality healthcare in the country. The South African Communist Party has welcomed the implementation of the NHI.
Busa is a minority entity. It represents the most privileged in society who can fly all over the world to go and get better medical health care. And their health care here in the country have been subsidized heavily by public sector. They don't want to say that. Now, we're creating an equality between the poor and the rich in terms of access to health care. It's in our constitution. So the guarantee of life in the constitution is not just only protecting people from death, but protecting people from being healthy. So it's fundamental. This is enshrined in the Bill of Rights of our country, and that's what we're implementing.
And away from that now, thousands. Here in Nigeria, former High Commissioner to the United Kingdom and veteran broadcaster Dr. Christopher Collade has convened a select gathering of minds committed to unraveling the essence of effective leadership. This assembly comprises scholars, entrepreneurs, clergy and avid learners, all masters of their own trade. Our correspondent Dari Idu reports.
Effective principles of leadership is the focus of this meeting, and Dr. Christopher Collade is the convener. It's a small yet diverse group comprising scholars, entrepreneurs, the clergy, and others interested in learning a thing or two about leadership.
You see, let me remind all of us.
The host, Dr. Collade, leads the park, outlining 7 principles of leadership, some of which are responsibility, exemplary leadership, building capacity to meet needs of the future, being an apostle of effective learning.
Today's discussion is not leadership in the abstract. It is not leadership only as a concept. It is leadership as it relates to our practice, our experience. So if you look at the principles that I have put in this paper, I've put 7 principles. But there is one basic principle that I want to remind all of us of. And that is that the leader himself is a member of the team. If we practice leadership which separates the leader from the team, which makes the leader preside over some concept and everybody else is just doing his will, that is a wrong concept of leadership. And I use something we all know about. A football team. If I ask you who is the leader of the football team, you point to the captain. And the captain has responsibility to make sure that something happens. The team may say we want to win or we don't want to lose, so whatever the objective is, he is leading.
And there were other perspectives from different speakers.
People, what make up the success or failure of anything, and the person who is in charge, recognizing that and being able to tap into it makes all the difference.
There are people who are in position of leadership and they will just tell you that they don't care. Anything goes. Because we have not put that structure. You know, you also want to ask questions. To whom are you accountable to?
Leadership comes with a lot of challenges. Even now, I think I'm work in progress. But I think that we have to continue to learn.
The chairman and CEO of Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, in his submission says people must be at the heart of effective leadership at all levels.
This holds true in what we do in Channels on a daily basis. Everybody is a member of the team. Everyone is very important. Everyone, whether he's a Muslim or a Christian, must always understand the fact that the work he does in Channels is not unto him, but unto God. What are we there to do when we find ourselves in leadership positions? We must be there for the common good. As long as we know that it's not about enriching ourselves, it's in fact, I dare say, inconveniencing yourself or polarizing yourself, because you've got to make sure that the people are the focus of your leadership. Once we get that in Nigeria, the country will change.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all give God glory for leading us to have this program and to have it successful. And also we can thank our hosts and key speaker, Dr. Christopher Collade, for giving us access to his time, his expertise, and incomparable experience.
As the discourse unfolds within this circle, these principles are expected to guide a larger population beyond this gathering. Dari Idu, Channels Television News.
Over 2,500 business leaders and policymakers are gathered in the Rwandan capital, Kigali, for the Africa CEO Forum to help shape the future of the African continent. The two-day event seeks to help African countries find their place among the leading nations of the world. The forum, which engages leaders from both the public and private sectors, is organized by a Journey Africa Media Group in partnership with the International Finance Corporation, which is part of the World Bank Group. Rwanda's President Paul Kagame is hosting this event for the second time. Also at the event, Kenyan President William Ruto, Mozambican President Filipe Nyusi, and Djiboutian President Ismail Omar Guelleh. The Chief Executive Officer, Coronation Group, Wale Onosanya, joins us now for more on the program. Thank you very much for joining us on The World today.
Good evening.
Now, Coronation Group is a financial services company. Could you tell us more about the services that you offer and why you're backing the Africa CEO Forum this year?
Thank you very much. It's an honor for our company to be a gold sponsor for the event this year. Coronation is a technology-driven financial services conglomerate. We operate across 11 businesses. Within those 11 businesses, we offer different services: capital markets, insurance, trade finance, fintech, alternative capital. So just a broad range of financial services, things that you'd like, that you would expect to see. And these are the kinds of services that Africans need to get us to where we are all hoping that we'll get to.
Coronation has also been recently announced a groundbreaking partnership with Access Holdings and M-Pesa to enable seamless payments and remittances across the African continent. Please tell us more about this partnership and why it is transformational for Africa.
So look, we're really excited about what this partnership is going to birth. As you know, M-Pesa is a fintech giant in East Africa, with our home country being in Kenya. And Coronation and Access have a partnership also that makes us very, very strong in the markets where we play today. And by combining forces together, the impact we expect to have is basically you look at an SME today that is only selling to customers within their market because they're limited by different things. Being able to make payments to someone in another country is a challenge, all the friction that exists. With this solution, we will transform their experience. We'll make it just this, they'll have a similar experience to what they have today when they transact with someone down the street from them. That will be the kind of experience they'll have when they start transacting with customers that are in different countries across Africa. So it's going to be seamless, it's going to be quick, and that is where we ultimately expect to get to. It will also mean that when we travel, when Nigerians travel outside of Nigeria within Africa, they'll be able to just transact normally as they would as if they were in Nigeria seamlessly.
Now, your response clearly points to the fact that Coronation is actually expanding beyond Nigeria and Ghana. What could be propelling this move?
So look, the opportunity, so what we've done over the last several years is to establish ourselves firmly within our home markets of Nigeria first and then Ghana. And given where we are today, it's a great time for us to now expand our footprint first to East Africa, starting with Kenya and some other countries around there. And, like I said, is to roll out the services that we currently have. We have some really wonderful solutions like a digitized wealth management platform that is targeted at, from anywhere from low-income earners all the way to HNIs. These are the types of things that we're looking to expand and make available to Africans to help them to manage their wealth, grow their wealth, have access to more customers, like I said, provide easy lending services to them for them to be able to access the capital they require to grow their businesses.
But what key markets is Coronation taking on, and what is the expected impact of Coronation's presence?
Sure. So the kind of markets we're looking at, like I said, Kenya, is something that is very, very, close for us. And then you look at Tanzania, Uganda, and then moving away from East Africa, if we look at South Africa itself, Zambia, Zimbabwe, the list goes on, but just those ones for now, I think is what I'll speak to. And like I said, the impact at the end of the day is one, it brings Africans closer in terms of doing business.
Continue. Go
Hello?
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes. So I said in terms of impact, what it does is it makes capital available to more Africans to grow their businesses. It provides wealth creation opportunities for Africans. Also helps them to protect their businesses, protect their loved ones with insurance products that are affordable, that are easy to access and easy to make claims on.
So you seem to have lots of impact outside the country. How about Nigeria? What's the impact been so far since inception?
So look, Coronation has been around for about 11 years. Like I said, you may be aware of some of the companies that, some of the brands that we have. We have Coronation Insurance, PLC. We have that which is a non-life insurance company. We have Coronation Life, which is a life company. We have Coronation Merchant Bank that does transaction advisory, trade finance, private banking. We have registrars. Our registrars business is the biggest registrars business in Nigeria. We have asset management, securities trading, trustees. So we have a wide range of businesses that are providing really useful solutions for Nigerians today. And we recently launched Coronation Wealth, which is a digital wealth management app. It's fantastic. It enables people to be able to, it introduces people to the capital market. There's a learning module there where people can take easy, bite-sized classes that teach them about investing. And then they can actually also go in there and start putting their money in and investing in stocks, just being part of the prosperity story that is available, that is typically available to people of more means. So we democratize this. We are making it available to virtually any Nigerian that has, however much they have, 1,000 naira, 5,000 naira, whatever it is, they can start to grow their wealth and see it in the palm of their hands on their phones.
Well, with your presence at the Africa CEO Forum there in Kigali, what are you hoping to achieve with this, and what are you hoping to bring out in all of this?
Sure. So one, it's always a great opportunity to meet counterparts from other parts of Africa. It's a good opportunity to tell our story, to hear about what others are doing to motivate us. And then, like I said, as we look to expand beyond our home country, our home countries, I should say, it's an opportunity also for people to learn about us and see, meet potential partners along the way as we expand across the continent.
Can never be overemphasized, but what would you say about relationships with African leaders or between African countries? Sometimes it gets very difficult even traveling from one African country to another. What are you saying about doing business, making things easy, especially when it comes to business and relations between African countries?
So look, our host country is a fantastic country. They've made it, just as an example, they've made it easy for Africans to come in without requiring a visa, which is a fantastic thing. So we need more of these types of initiatives to, make it easier for Africans to trade amongst one another. That's one step. And then with the kind of solutions that we're looking to launch also, that make it possible for you to come to another African country, and it's as if you are in Nigeria in terms of you can pay for a cab ride, you can pay for something at the pharmacy, the supermarket, you can buy something in a restaurant without having to, carry dollars with you, start changing money or things like that. So these are the types of things that we hope will continue to happen in Africa and, to get us to the destination that we are looking to get to.
All right. Thank you very much, Chief Executive Officer, Coronation Group, Wole Onosanya. Thanks a lot for your contribution and your time on The World Today, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
On a round of farewell meetings, the United Nations Special Representative Catriona Liang visited Hargeisa, where she met with Somaliland's leadership and discussed the world body's support for development and humanitarian efforts. It was also an opportunity to officially introduce the new head of the UN's office there, who took up his post in March this year. She described his presence there as an indication of the UN's commitment to supporting local development and humanitarian efforts. Currently, more than dozens of UN agencies, funds and programs all operate in Somaliland.
We had a very good discussion, and the President talked to me about the development plan, which sets out his economic long-term vision around the benefits of the blue economy, around minerals, and thinking about transformation of the livestock trade as we prepare for climate change impacts on the nomadic lifestyle. We talked about the UN role in support of delivering the economic vision and all the other work we do around social development, health, education, humanitarian, and so on. We talked about the Lhasa region, where of course there has been some challenges in the past, and we were both pleased to see that things have calmed down here, and the President assured me that that is his objective, that for things to remain calm. And I explained that the UN will play its part in delivering humanitarian assistance and demining and so on for the benefit of the people in that region.
Thousands are partaking in the Chinese Bun Festival at the Park Thai Temple in Hong Kong. Well, the annual event has been a tradition for so long. Celebration dates back to the 18th century, with its origins as a ritual to ward off plague and pirates. Participants also took part in the traditional bun scrambling competition, climbing a tower decked in plastic buns in order to snatch the buns, which symbolizes good fortune. Well, the festival began as a communal prayer used for protection against pirates and the plague by fishing communities in Cheong Chang Island. But then it evolved over the years into a vibrant cultural showcase. Well, you can never separate China and colorful festivals. And on that very colorful note, we end the world today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu.